is with ChatGPT, I was able to work with ChatGPT basically and build out my own custom app leveraging ChatGPT without any coding experience. And I built it in Python, and I actually built it and lifted and shifted and put it into a virtual machine in Azure. And then I hosted it and had paying customers. Well, I had a few paying customers. Mostly it was my existing clients that were using it. And the reason why they were using it is because I built it for them, really. So what the app was, ChatGPT was out there, and you could ask ChatGPT to create like intro messages for you and do all that cool stuff. But what you couldn't do is you couldn't link a website or you couldn't feed it a PDF at that time, right? And so what a lot of my clients struggled with was that like I would do a lot of outbound campaigns and do LinkedIn outreach and all that stuff. And what they were struggling with is that first, like when they connected with somebody that looked like a good prospect, what's that intro message that they would create that would get that hook that would leverage their background experience? And they would always stumble on that. So I'm like, okay, I built an app that basically they could download their PDF profile from LinkedIn, download their target PDF profile, so the people they want to go after, whoever, and then they could actually link in their website URL, like a page from their website with an offer, a page for the service that they wanted to focus on, or they could upload a PDF flyer, and then they would just ask the GPT app that I made to create the intro, and it would create an intro. And it was super cool. My clients loved it. What it did is it helped me kind of expand my outreach. The app was good. It was really, I was one of the things I learned. I priced it, I think around $15, 14.99. So you had users, but then like, what's the strategy? You go to market at 14.99. You're not really, you're just kind of breaking, making a bit of money. So it was something that was a great learning experience. But to invest time to go to market with building an app that's basically just a wrapper for GPT, I wasn't going to do that, right? So lately, what I've done now is what I've found from my customers and from people that I worked with is it was really good. We were creating these custom kind of intros, but they wanted to take those and scale. So then how do you do those at scale? Because I was building them one off, right? They put it in, they give it a nice. So now I'm using applications, and I found an application called Clay, and Clay is probably one of the most popular marketing AI tools available to kind of marketers that are looking to build and scale marketing operations, right? And what Clay does, it's the easiest way for me to describe Clay. It's like an Excel sheet on steroids, really. It takes a whole bunch of um, data points. You can feed it a list, and I'm going to show you a full demo of that. And then the reason I'm telling you this background before you go into the presentation is because I'd like you to think about this. What Clay can do is I can pull up target lists. So if you give me company description, if you give me an ICP, it pulls from a database that uses LinkedIn, Apollo, a whole bunch of other stuff, and it'll pull a list that I can build. And then we can feed that list into a table, and then we can actually build agents. And I'm going to show you examples how we can go out and do a bit of research on each target. Then the AI will create that research, put it in there, and then we can leverage that research to create an intro, right, that is custom to each of those different people that you're targeting. And I'm going to show you how all that works. But if you guys are looking to do outreach and you haven't, if you know what an ICP is, ideal client profile, then you can talk to me about that. Drop that in the chat, and what we're going to do is try and look for um, more of those users or customers or prospects for you. I'll build a table for you, and I'll show you kind of what research. And I'm going to even give you the table after this is over, right? So if we can't get it done for you the way we want, because it's not always perfect, I have to play around with it a lot. We can book some time after, and I can finish the table. I've done a few of these for people that have attended, and I'm happy to give them out. I've also been doing these because they've been so popular. I started delivering to chambers of commerce across Canada, and I've done 4 over the last 4 months in the summer, and those worked really well. So I'm hoping that you get a lot of value out of it, but mainly I want to hopefully do some kind of real practical examples where we can take whatever you're doing right now and kind of leverage that into something useful for you. So without further ado, let me start the. Derek, oh, I'm not sharing my screen. That's why. Okay. Okay, so first, I don't know if any of you have actually attended any of the last kind of webinars that I've delivered over the summer. But if you have, this might be a little bit of a repeat on this slide, but it just has a little bit of background. What is an LLM? Is a large language model. It's basically a sophisticated type of artificial intelligence system. Imagine it's a massive brain filled with word sentences information from a vast library of books, articles, websites. It has read all these and learned from. But now learned is kind of a tricky word to use there because it's memorizing everything it sees, but it's not learning, right? And that's a very clear distinction that you need to make, right? Because when you ask ChatGPT a question, it's not thinking about the answer it wants to give to you. What it's doing is taking the question that you're asking and looking for patterns within the data and the information it has to give you back the answer it thinks you're looking for. And there's a very fine distinction between thinking, understanding what you want and trying to give you that answer, or as opposed to looking at what you're asking and looking for patterns in the data to give you what it thinks you're asking, right? So it's a bit of a tricky way to look at it, but you have to keep that in mind whenever you're talking to ChatGPT. It's not really thinking, and it's not really a person that's kind of really processing its information. It's really just memorizing. It's memorized a ton of stuff, and it's just basically able to kind of reference that memorization and look for the answers it thinks you want it to do. Can this be done on the free version of ChatGPT or paid version? The tools that I'm going to show you are, some of them are free. There's a tool I'm going to show you, Anthropic. I'm going to show you OpenAI, ChatGPT free as well. But there's tools that I use, like Clay is an expensive tool. It costs 150 US a month. It's kind of like the core of my offering. So for me as a marketing kind of company, it's easy for me to justify that expense. For individual users, it's not, but that's also why I've rolled out a service offering where I build out ICPs and I deliver like 100 a week, and I can even put those into email campaigns. So I have that offering that I rolled out, and that's something that I developed by doing this and by building the app and realizing, okay, this is something that people want, right? So if you do B2B, that's something that's available, kind of thing. So I hope that kind of helps you understand a little bit more about now. When I built this slide, that we are looking at ChatGPT 2.5, right? So now we're at ChatGPT 4.0 Mini, and 4.0 Mini is fantastic. If you haven't like, so when you're using a ChatGPT free, you probably don't get caught up a lot in the costs, right? It's free. Or if you pay for the subscription, you're paying about $19 US a month. You can use it basically ad nauseum. You can use it for as much stuff as you want. Now, when you're using the what they call the APIs, right? So when you're actually plugging this into a system or you're trying to move it, there's costs associated to it, right? And you'd be shocked how fast that cost can spiral, especially when you're doing things at scale. So the nice thing about ChatGPT 4.0 Mini is it's dropped that cost by I think 133rd or something ridiculous. So now we can go out and do tons of research, and I'll show you why that's important when we look at the tools that I'm using and when you look at the agents that we build to go out and do research. Because when you build an agent to go out and research something on the web with AI, right? So what it does is, I don't know if you understand how tokens work, but tokens is how ChatGPT kind of can take in information and give you back information. It's how it sets limits on how much it can kind of deliver based on its kind of computational limitations, right? So if a total conversation with ChatGPT response is 8,000 tokens, let's say, what you ask it as a question, let's say you type in a long question, then you give it examples, that's, let's say, 4,000 tokens. Then it's going to go think and it's going to look for the answer and it's going to give you back an answer that could be another 3,000. So you've used a total of 8,000. Now, the more complex your research is, the more it has to go out and look for, then that becomes bigger and bigger. ChatGPT 4.0 Mini is basically giving you tons more tokens, plus it's reduced the cost. So that's why it's a big deal. So the AI brain is really good at understanding human language. When you interact with it, you can ask questions, give it prompts, or have a conversation. That's really something that's a big deal, and why, you look at Google, and when Google started way back, in the day, it was huge, it was popular, everyone loved it. But with the Google, when you did a search or you asked it a query and it gave you an answer, if it wasn't the right answer you wanted, you had to start from scratch, right? But with ChatGPT, now when you ask it a question, if it doesn't give you the right answer, you can ask it a follow-up question, or you can even further refine that response. So it can go out and say, okay, it'll learn from that and it'll take the entire context of the conversation and try better to give you a better response that you want. So that's the big difference, right? It's not just going out and finding and creating a new task every time. It's holding on to that information, holding on to what it found for you the first time, and then saying, okay, this is not what he wanted, but what did he want? That's what makes it, so powerful and what makes it such a difference maker. So capabilities, it's like I said, the rapid rise of ChatGPT adoption is a direct result of the user-friendly interactions it's enabled, right? Integrating into applications is intuitive. Ability to ask follow-up questions is what allows users to deep dive into problems without limitations, right? So user-friendly interactions is what we talked about. Contextual understanding is like older systems that just only respond to keywords or simple rules. ChatGPT understands the context of the conversation, remembers what's been discussed, and provide responses that, handle the whole flow of the conversation. Handling complex queries, again, that's something that you couldn't do with Google. You couldn't ask it a multi-step question, right? Where now you can do that. I don't know if you use Internet Explorer at all. Anybody here? But if you do have an Office 365 subscription with Microsoft through the company or through anywhere else or through your student licenses, you will have Internet Explorer available and you will have Copilot built into Internet Explorer. And Copilot is the AI, basically. It's open AI, it's ChatGPT. And you can use it, especially if you're doing outreach on a manual level, right? If you're just researching companies and you're just looking at them, you can ask Copilot a question about that company and it'll go out and it'll go dig up more information or it'll go dig up. And that's really powerful when you're doing outreach, right? Especially as a small business owner or founder, you see a company, you like that company, this company's perfect. Okay, I want to ask a quick question. Copilot will help you. So that look, Microsoft is trying to like listen. I'm a Microsoft guy. Microsoft once it's bought over OpenAI and ChatGPT, it's trying to pigeonhole ChatGPT into everything, right? I don't know if you remember the paperclip. If you're probably all too young for that, but the paperclip was Microsoft's big assistant that they put out, right? I think it was like Windows 7 or something like that. And that paperclip was in your face, it was everywhere, and it was offering you all these stupid tips and tricks that you didn't need. So that's what Microsoft is turning ChatGPT in. This kind of a nuisance almost, right? It's always in your face, but it really needs to be there when you need it, and you need to understand what it can do for you to be useful. Easy integration. It's really simple to integrate with other apps, and that's what I've shown you. Even building an app was super simple. I built an app in Python. Python's a fairly straightforward language to kind of learn. I won't say, but with ChatGPT, you can ask it a question. You can actually ask it, listen, this is what I want to do. Can you build me out this script or the code for it? HTML, it's really good with HTML. If you say I want to create a quick little home page or a home screen, it'll create the HTML code for it. And then if you tell it you want to format it, it'll help you kind of make it better. You're always going to run into limitations, obviously, with that, but at least you can get the ball rolling. You can do a lot more than you used to be able to. Sorry here. So this is the big step. This is one of the reason why I go through these slides is I really like to talk about the limitations. And despite these, consider the ability of ChatGPT to accept natural conversational queries remains a powerful, valuable feature. Like besides all these limitations, but these limitations are pretty big. And this is something that I feel that most people aren't aware of or they don't keep in mind, especially if you're working, let's say you're working in a company and the company's adopted OpenAI or ChatGPT, and it's in the tools that you're using, and you're like, okay, I'm going to use it. You don't realize that there's a lot of limits to what ChatGPT is and what it can do. So misinterpretation, it can give you incorrect answers, but when it gives you those incorrect answers, it's really confident when it gives you them to you, right? So it's going to give you a wrong answer, but it's going to say it in a way that you're like, man, this is the right answer. So you're going to go out and use it, but it's wrong and it's dead wrong. So it's a really confident liar. I'll tell you that right now. Ethical considerations is right. We're talking about the beginning of this webinar is, you could take other people's content, feed it to ChatGPT, and you can ask it to rewrite it, and it'll rewrite it in your own words, and then you can spit it out and use it as your content. Some people do that every day, all day long. And some people, marketing companies will use that as their own content. And that's how they put out their content. You know, I feel like it's kind of the pendulum's kind of swung the other way now with content, whereas it's great to have really, well thought out, put together content that reads like it was really nicely done. That almost leads me to start to believe that it was AI content, that you didn't write that yourself. So, when I write my own content, I try to write in the language that I speak and I try and be more natural nowadays because I feel like that's what people are looking for, right? Anybody can punch in something to ChatGPT and get a generic answer, right? And you know how you know it's a generic answer? Like if you read like a paragraph or two paragraphs of something, and it's just a whole lot of circling around topics, but not really getting to a point. That's AI, right? Circle around stuff for a long, or if it's a whole bunch of, it's a whole bunch of information that just feels like fluff. There's a lot of superfluous words. There's a lot of extras in there you don't need. Authenticity is huge, right? Carolina, I don't know if it's Carolina, sorry. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Authenticity is what's going to separate you when you put out your content, right? Like when you put out content, that's what people look for. And that's why YouTube and TikTok, I feel like maybe they do better is because when someone's there and talking to you, that's a real person. It's not AI, right? So it's like, okay, that's more believable. Maybe that's some of the reasons why more and more people are turning to YouTube to learn, and as opposed to can ChatGPT cite scholarly? Oh yeah, 100%. That's like what I use like ChatGPT. I'll show you some of the uses, but if you're ever working on a program or a software, you're trying to get it to do something, you're like, oh, I can't do something. I go right to ChatGPT and I ask that question. And I'll show you an example of what I did just like this week when I was looking for something. How do I do this? And I'm using a software called Framer. Framer I used to build a landing page, and I'll show you the landing page I built, but I got stuck and I'm like, how do I undo that? And I paid a guy on Framer to kind of build the site. So I'm like, I just asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT gave me the answer. 2 seconds. I would have spent an hour looking for this answer to documentation. 2 seconds, because you know why? It's been trained on all this stuff. As long as this stuff's out there, people are feeding it to ChatGPT, right? So, people that want to build custom bots for their products and software, all you got to do is feed your stuff into ChatGPT and it'll take care of the rest. So you don't have to really kill yourself in terms of trying to train it to be that assistant. It'll be that assistant as long as it has the knowledge it needs to be the assistant. Dependence on trading data, that's another limitation. Obviously, it's limited to the information. This used to be a bigger problem when ChatGPT first rolled out. And the main reason is it was limited to data that was almost 6 months behind, right? So whenever you're trying to put out stuff that's topical, or you're trying to ask it more recent questions, it didn't have that. And it didn't have access to the internet. So because it didn't have access to the internet, it couldn't even research stuff and find you the answer if it wasn't trained on it. Now you can actually give it a link. You can ask it to look online and it'll find the information for you if it's not trained on that information. So that's really big, right? So that limitation, it's not really such a limitation anymore. Right. So lack of true understanding is something that I really feel like people who work at companies that have ChatGPT or OpenAI or AI assistants built software, running, that you have to understand that that software is not always going to run accurate. You got to double check. Even when I do outreach with these automated tools, I really do a lot of time vetting and verifying the stuff that's generated and spit out from these tools. Because even if it gives me the right answer, say I create a table and I'm creating custom lines for each row, and the first 10 rows are great, the 20, sometimes when you get down to 50, it just gets some weird thing, right? So it's weird. You have to really kind of vet it every now and then and make sure that, that's why people use what they call multiple embedded AI within their prompts. So they'll create a prompt, it'll do something, then they'll have another prompt verify what it's done. So it's almost like getting the AI to check the AI for itself, if that makes sense. So I hope that helps you kind of understand a little bit more about where ChatGPT is, OpenAI, and kind of what it is and how to, work around those limitations, right? So now let's dive into the fun stuff. Actually, sorry, I got to go into the pros and cons. So, this is the pros for ChatGPT for sales and marketing. Pros, like this is the stuff that I'd like to do: improving your website with AI enhanced content and design. Like if every one of you, anybody who started a business, who owns a business, you built a website, or you probably had to build a website for it in case somebody get a website for it. Now, designers are great. They'll tell you, okay, where to put this, where to put that, and they'll put that together for you. But the toughest thing what a designer will never do is create the content for you, right? So it's your website, it's your product, right? You need to know what the people that land on your website are going to be reading, how you want to pitch or sell them, or what you want them to see. The designer's not going to help you with that. So how do you get that content? And that was the biggest, whenever I've worked with so many companies over the years and they needed a new website. But the biggest thing holding them back from the website is who's going to write all the content for the pages, right? Who's going to write the homepage? Who's going to do the product pages? And that was a big thing for all. It's still a big thing for all companies. Now with OpenAI and ChatGPT, you can get that basically done for you, and it's done for you really quickly. And I'll show you kind of how we do that. Impactful content for marketing and social media and websites. Again, that's something that I use it for all the time. I was never big on social media, like outreach or social. I was never a big social media selling guy, but with LinkedIn, it's really kind of transformed the way you have to be out there, right? And because there's so much AI out there, I think that social platforms are bigger because they got to see that it's a real person and that somebody that they know with connections that they can talk to, right? So I spend a lot of time now putting out content. And when I first started putting out content, it was pretty bad. It wasn't the best content, but it took me a while to work on it. And the more I started using AI and OpenAI, I started to worry less about the text and the actual, because I knew if I put my thought process down on paper, now AI can help me kind of put that into a nice formatted post. And I'll show you how we do that. And I can show you how you can do that too. I also have for you, I'm going to stop this here just so I can show you what I have for you all. Oh, sorry, Eric, hold on. But I created a quick little prompts guide that actually, well, I'll show it to you after actually, because I can finish this slide. But I create a quick little prompts guide that I share with on these webinars. Basically, it's a listing of different kind of prompts and has some sample prompts in there, and basically I make it available after. And it's pretty popular. Most people ask for it, but yeah, we'll use that to show you how to create kind of content and how to create your call to actions and other stuff. So find and connect with better targets for your business. I'm going to show you Clay. I'm going to show you some other tools to basically, I don't know if any of you do email outreach nowadays, but email outreach has changed drastically. Most of the major providers, Microsoft and Google especially, over the last, I want to say even 4 to 5 weeks, have really heavily started cracking down. And there's a very good reason for that, right? My LinkedIn feed right now is full of marketing bros, right? And I guess they're all watching YouTube videos and TikTok videos on how to basically scale and outreach and this and that. And I have these one guys that'll be like, oh, I send out 1 million cold emails every month. And in my head, I'm like, and I want to reply on LinkedIn, but I'm not going to because I don't want to be negative on LinkedIn. But I'm like, you're part of the problem. You're the reason why nobody reads emails anymore, and you're the reason why our spam filters are just blocked up, right? Because one person using AI tools can spam 1 million emails a month. That's ridiculous. So now Gmail and Microsoft are cracking down, right? So they're cracking down on people that are spamming or sending too much of the same email. You have to do something called spin taxing. I'll show you what that is. And that's what AI is fantastic for. I don't know if you've heard that term before, spin taxing, but it's when you take like a subject line and you put in basically different formats of that subject line. So when it goes out, the AI tools will basically pick one kind of subject, one kind of intro, one kind of main hook, and it'll always be different. And the reason it's doing that is to make sure that Google doesn't see patterns, right? It doesn't see the same exact email, same exact subject going out to 500 people. Doesn't want to see that, right? That's going to mark you as spam. Second thing I'll tell you is never use your own email domain, your main principal domain for email outreach anymore. Don't do it. If you're sending out more than 20 to 30 to emails a week, I would tell you to get a little separate marketing domain, right? So just make it a simple whatever it is off of your main domain. And I would set that up to do your email marketing, because even if it gets flagged or if something happens to it, at least it's not going to flag your main. Because if your main gets flagged, all your communications to your clients, to your partners, to your suppliers, that's going to go right into your spam, right? So you don't want that to happen. You want to make sure that you have a separate marketing domain and a separate, and that's really easy to get nowadays too. But you can go to Outlook, Microsoft, you can go to Google, GoDaddy, and just buy a separate cheap one and just make sure it's set up properly. And if you need to know what to do to set that up, just let me know. Reach out. We can. Anybody, by the way, you can always reach out to Derek after. I make myself available for anybody who attends these for a quick little half an hour session if you need it, just to dive into deeper what you're doing and what you need help with or whatever. There's no charge, obviously. It's for Yes Montreal members because I like Derek so much. Me and Derek went to high school together, so we've known each other for quite some time. He was a bully, so I forgive him now, though. So anyway, craft compelling outreach messages, AI to research targets, leveraging AI-powered keyword research. Research and SEO is huge. I don't know if you guys put out content on a regular basis, but I am going to show you how I changed. Like I was putting out blog posts pretty regularly, and they get no traction. Like not they don't get traction, they get traction from people when I send them like in my LinkedIn and stuff. People read it, they're good, but they weren't getting picked up by Google for SEO, and that's because like I don't create content for SEO per se, but now I have a blog prompt I'm going to give to you that it's part of the PDF, whatever. But you can just feed it your content, feed it that prompt, and it'll give you the blog post, but it'll SEO the hell out of it for you. So it'll give you the keywords, the meta titles. Then you can just put that, and that I'm telling you right now, I have a Wix site. Since I started doing that, now I'm getting impressions every month based just on those blog posts. And now, after 2 months of doing that steadily, it's getting me clicks now based on those blog posts, which I never thought like it was just, and that's where I would tell you that AI created content. That's how where I use it because, that's content that I'm creating for my blog and for people, not necessarily like LinkedIn content. I really like to put a bit more effort because it's people reading it, right? The SEO content is for the crawlers and for Google to read and to index my site properly, kind of thing. So I think the next slide, like I said, we'll look at ChatGPT for sales and marketing to create better headlines, better hooks, better call to actions for your websites. Uh, ChatGPT for sales and marketing content. This is what I like to do. Create custom content. I use an application called Canva. I'm not sure if any of you people. I'm sure. Yeah. Every time I mention Canva, everybody's heads nod because people love Canva. I love Canva. I am not somebody who's good with graphic arts or graphic design or any of that stuff. So I'm actually terrible with it. So I basically look for popular posts on LinkedIn, and I'll take that post and copy it using Canva and say, okay, not the post, but the sliders and stuff like that, because I don't have that eye for that. But if I can take it, I can almost recreate anything in Canva, like really. And that's what I love about it. And it's so good for other stuff too. Like it can remove backgrounds so easily. It just keeps adding different features, and I just think it's awesome. If you haven't used it or tried it, it's really cheap. I think it's like $13 a month or something. But it really is your friend for content creation and for marketing, really. And finally, this is the good stuff for people who want to do lead generation, who want to go out and find new targets. We will do some deep dives into Clay as well. So let's end the slideshow there. And let me go right into Clay to start. So I guess we'll dive into Clay first, but talk to me about what you're looking for. If there's anything in particular that you're looking at in terms of custom, but I'm going to dive into some of mine that I'm working on now. I have a couple here that I think I Clay demo for custom. Yeah, yes, Montreal. This is the one. So actually, first let's take a look at how Clay works. All right, so I can create a table here. All right. Now, look, there's so many tools like this out there. There's Apollo, there's this. I like Clay, and there's a reason I like Clay is because I can take Clay and I can build a table, but I can also plug in all these other providers using what we call API keys. So, do you guys know what an API? API key is an application protocol interface. So it's basically a way for one program to talk to another program, right? Just helps programs connect with each other. And so, why I love Clay is I can take Clay as my kind of base, and then if I want to pull in stuff from Apollo, I can use their API and I can plug that in. If I want to pull in stuff from other sources or if I want to use and export it, I can do that. So it's kind of agnostic a little bit in the sense that it's a great hub, but it also connects to other pieces that allows you to do more, right? So if you have HubSpot CRM, I can export this right to HubSpot. I use a tool called Smartlead AI, and I'm going to show you that. That's for email outreach. So that's how you spin tags. That's how you set up warm-ups. I don't know if you know about warm-up, but you should warm up your email accounts by sending out small batches of emails. Like every day you send out one, the next day two, three, and you kind of scale up that way. That's how you warm up your email. Like they don't want you to get a brand new email inbox and then start spamming, 30 or 40 a day. By the way, when you get an email, like the best practices right now for email marketing is 30 per email per day. So if you have an email inbox, you don't want to be sending more than 30 outbound emails marketing from that email inbox a day. You do more than that, you're risking yourself to get flagged, right? So listen, there's a whole bunch of things you got to keep in mind, but that's one of the things that's kind of my baseline is don't send more than 30 a day. And this is best practices across the industry. So, trust me on this one. So look, if you want to find company, does anybody have an ICP or company that they'd like to kind of focus on a little bit? But let me show you how it works a bit first, and then you can tell, then I'll show you why. So if I take a look at this table, Clay table, Montreal, custom letters and research. So here's, this is one I did for another company. This guy was going after financial planners, right? So he had a dynamic CRM. He built custom CRM for financial planners and wealth management people, right? So we're like, okay. He's like, I do an out. I did an email cold out email. I don't know if you know what a lead magnet is, but a lead magnet is I created this lead magnet. So this is a lead magnet. I giving this away here, but what I would do normally is I can offer this, right? If I do a post on my LinkedIn and say, hey, I created this little email, I created this PDF, and it gives you all these frameworks and these cool things for ChatGPT. If you want it, just comment or like or whatever, and that's a lead magnet. It's something that it offers real value to people. Took a lot of time to put this together, so I know it's worth it and offers some value. I use it. I use some of the prompts in here. But this is something I'm going to give to everybody who wants it. I'm just going to give you my email. The only thing I'll ask you is to email me and ask me for a copy, and I'll send that out to you. You can also get, by the way, this presentation is going to be recorded, and it's going to be available as PDFs as well for the slides. But yeah, so this ChatGPT prompts will help you scale. So these are some frameworks that I'm going to share with you that you can use when you're using the ChatGPT OpenAI free. And you can see I even use some of them here, right? So this is one of them. Like, it just gives you kind of an example of how to set up your prompt when you ask it, information, or when you ask it to build you something. So these are kind of really handy. But I like these because these kind of give you an example, like the ones down here, right? For audios, for metaphors, and explain an intricate, probable, and relatable manner. I did one for you here where I said, okay, considering the inertia faced by customers in the retail space, what strategies can I employ in my call to action to encourage immediate action without seemingly pushing? Provide up to 3 call to actions, right? So it'll kind of give you these. These are a little obvious and on the nose sometimes, but sometimes they can be really good, and you got to kind of really work with it. But these are kind of why I kind of put these together for people with all kinds of different businesses. It can give you a whole bunch of different ways to look at your business and look at your outreach. And what I'd mentioned at the end here is prompt that I used probably the most, not the most, but it's my blog. This is a really big, this is one whole prompt, but you can copy this whole prompt and you can put this into ChatGPT, right? And basically what I did is create a custom blog post. I give it notes, instructions, and an old blog post, right? And you can delete this and you can just keep the notes, instructions. You can do whatever you want and incorporate this into a new blog post, maintaining natural flow of information. Primary goal is to produce high quality content, blah, blah, blah. And I'll show you some examples of exactly how I did that and how I put the notes together. Because when I'm writing like kind of a content for LinkedIn and stuff, I have a tendency to start writing and in my head, I'm kind of talking like I normally talk. And then I start to ramble and babble, and then I'm like, that's not a great post for LinkedIn, right? Because then you really want to you really there's posts that do super well, and they do super well for a reason. They're very clear, they're concise, they put it out in a way that's really easy to digest, and people get it right away. So that's what I try to shoot for nowadays, right? So now what I do is like for my last post here, I think this is the one I was working on. Uh, yeah, so this is when I was kind of working on it and I started writing it here. So I'm passing you, I met with a lot of companies looking for appointment setters. And that is something that, people are looking for appointment setters, but when they do, they're kind of forgetting about all the stuff in between. Like, do they have an email campaign that works? Do they have a message, an offer that converts? Do they have a call to action? Have they figured out, or they just want to hire somebody to book appointments? And if you're hiring somebody to book appointments, you're thinking that this guy's going to do all your marketing and all your sales and all this stuff and figure out your call to action and understand your ICP, your clients better than you. That doesn't work. So that was my kind of post, and that's why, because I had like 3 companies last week ask me to do appointment settings. I'm like, listen, I don't know anything about your business, and you know more about your business than I do, so I can't just set appointments for you. There's a whole bunch of things we have to do in between, right, before I can get there. So at first I started writing it like this, but then I'm like, I started putting notes here. Right. Normally it's founders and starters. There's a growth system. I just put these notes in, blah, 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 because I was getting fed up of trying to write out a nice post. Right. So then I took that and I fed it into Anthropic. So the way that Anthropic works, this is a really cool dashboard. Okay. And this is what I'd like. This is, that OpenAI built ChatGPT. Okay. And OpenAI is kind of, let's call OpenAI Microsoft's AI because now they bought in and invested in it. Right. Meta is Facebook, right? And Facebook does Anthropic. Anthropic has a couple of different other AI models underneath it, but I like it. It's really good for written text. It's really good for natural sounding speech, right? And the nice thing about it too is when you go to the dashboard, you can ask it to generate a prompt, write a prompt from scratch, blah blah blah. So when you ask it to generate a prompt, you can say, "Hey, I want to new LinkedIn posts using my notes and leveraging." So when I showed you that sample prompts, like you can use those, but if you use this with Anthropic, it'll go out and do that kind of for you, and it'll kind of build out that your task. So it'll do all this, right? And then you can go in and kind of customize this as you wish, right? So, and I'll show you what that looks like. Right. So now it's giving you a whole like so your task creating a new LinkedIn post, blah, blah, blah. And then when I click on this, it's gonna let me feed in the sample post, right? The notes and the instructions here in 3 different things, right? So then what does it look like when it does that? We'll go to my right, and this is the one that I liked. Your task is expanding partially completed LinkedIn post while capturing the style of the posts, right? And these are all filled in. So this is a post from a guy that I really liked his style on LinkedIn, right? And I actually do read a lot of his posts. He's a business management consultant kind of guy, right? So I grabbed one of his posts because I like the style, and I read his entire post, and it's not flashy or marketing or it's nice. So then I take his post as the sample, the style. I put my post in, and then we'll run it that way, and then you can even give it notes if you don't like it, right? Like so multiple founders. So this is kind of what you get. And it's a nice little LinkedIn post. This is a LinkedIn post. And now I also want to turn this into a blog post, right? So now I can kind of take my LinkedIn post if I want, right? And this is kind of And then I can take it to my assistant's playground. So this is ChatGPT OpenAI. You don't need all these different tools. I use them because I built that. Remember that prompt that I showed you here? I built an assistant with that prompt basically. So it's a copywriter that I use, blog copywriter I call it, experienced copywriter in the tech industry. I trust your expertise. So it's basically the same thing, right? And then I fed it the LinkedIn post that I just created right here, right? And then it gave me a full blog post here. So this is the full blog post, right? So see how it fleshed it all out? It gave me more content from resonating marketing offer, blah, 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 effective messaging, building a strong foundation. But then at the bottom, it gives me the title, meta description, header tags, slug. This is what gives me the SEO stuff that I was missing from my blog posts prior to this, right? That's in that PDF prompt guide that I'm giving you all. So you can take that exact prompt, copy it, and put it into the free ChatGPT here, and it'll do basically the same thing as my assistant. So you don't need the assistant. Don't even worry about that. But if you take that blog post, put your notes in and everything else, it will give you that same style of output, right? So it'll give you the post, it'll give you the header tags. And then if you have a blog section in your website, you really got to make sure to use that properly. So make sure the header tags are. And when I do that, I notice that now Google picks up my posts because I also try to focus on keywords that are relevant, right? And that's how you can do keyword research to figure out what keywords are your actual clients looking for, searching on, or you can look at your competitors and then do a scrape of their keywords using AI tools and figure out what the people that are going to your competitor's website are searching and then build out posts using that. You know what I mean?
Mr. Peter.
Yes, sir.
All right, there's a lot. Can we double click the headers? That was pretty interesting. Does that default? Is that always going to generate the headers there for you?
Yeah. Because if you look at this, right?
Yeah.
Search engines with the main meta keyword we want to focus on utilize
Okay.
header tags, blah blah blah. So this spits it, and then look, finally include a clear section for the title, meta description, header text layer, and the better. Please keep in mind that the SEO related content at the bottom does not
Okay.
count towards the word count, right? So
Yeah.
it does all that for you.
Okay. I didn't see that. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Some of these prompts I grabbed from other people and I just
Yeah.
customize them myself, right? Like I'm good at writing prompts, but if somebody else writes a better prompt, I'll steal theirs and just kind of customize it for myself. So now I did that for you guys, so you can take it and you can run with it. So
You
it's basically
mentioned keywords and competitors and a tool. Which
Yeah, there's a
tool?
tool called
Which
AI.
tool?
I don't, yeah, I can't dive into that yet, but
Okay.
there's a couple of different tools called one's called Ahref, Ahrefs. Go just
Yeah.
look that up, Google it. It'll allow you. I believe it allows you to type in a competitive website, and then it'll scrape that for keywords, and then you can use that to build your own website, or you can
Okay.
use that to fill in keywords for your own website, right? So yeah, that's how the post works. Now let's go back to Clay. To show you a bit more about how this works, right? So we found this guy. So now what are we doing with this? Like, so one of the things that he told me is, okay, I'm going after financial advisors, right? Investment people. And I go, okay, how big are the companies? So, well, it's weird because like they work for bigger umbrella organizations, but they're small individual independent owners, operators, right? So they're under a bigger umbrella org. So that's kind of challenging to find those people because if you do a search for the org, you're gonna get everybody in the org, right? So if it's Sun Life or if it's whatever, RBC Insurance, you're gonna get everybody. You just want people who have their own companies that are, individual sole proprietors, right? So first we pulled up the people based on that search criteria, and I can show you kind of how that search criteria looks. So this is the graph that we built. Looks a little complex. It is a bit. But we look at sources. These are the sources. So 5,000, Quebec, Ontario, financial planner, and these are the keywords I used, right? So that's what we use to build this table. Now, in this table, I do a lot of other fancy stuff. So one of the first things he told me is, listen, I don't want anybody from RBC or from blah 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 because these guys are whatever. They won't be good for. They're already. He builds a custom dynamic CRM, so he builds a CRM specifically for these people. So if they're part of a larger org, typically they're using the company CRM, so they won't use his solution. That's his justification, right? So basically, I built an agent, right? So how does this work? Is I built an AI agent within this table. So this is the magic, and this is I select my model. I have what they call an API key, and this is what makes Clay so powerful. Is you can use what they call Clay credits. So you see here, I have credits here, right? And I get X amount of credits every month, and that's kind of how you spend on Clay. But if you're smart, like you'll use your API keys, and I have API keys because I have an assistant. I built an app, so I have my own API keys. But you can apply for one from OpenAI and get it if you have your own business, right? You can probably get that fairly easily. But what I had it do is I went out and checked the company, right, against the following list of major Canadian banks to find any bank names associated. So then these are the banks that he listed for me. I don't want to work with any of these people. So I said, okay. So basically, then the agent goes out and searches every single one of these people to make sure that they don't have a bank affiliation. And then I filter on this column to make sure that they're not affiliated with any banks. So that's the first step to qualify, right? Next thing is, when you pull you want to normalize the first and last names because with LinkedIn you get a lot of this, right? PNG, CFP, all that. You don't want that when you're doing outreach or when you're emailing somebody, right? You don't want that so you got to normalize that. So we use AI. AI will normalize all that for us. It'll get rid of this one. It's screwed up, but it'll normally. That's what I say. It's not perfect, but yeah, for the most part, did a pretty good job. Now, the next step is I wanted to look at what did these guys specialize in, and the reason why I wanted to do that is because I want to customize an opening line, right? Because you can send out a generic sounding email and you can target, and it's not too generic because we're very targeted, right? We're targeting these people, targeting people that don't work with the big banks, blah blah. But you can target further to personalize it so that when they get that email, it feels like you're writing to them, right? That's really powerful. I feel like when you're writing, like I deal with a lot of tech companies and like tech savvy companies, the best thing I can do with AI is trick the person receiving it or let them question whether a human wrote it or whether AI wrote it. As long as he's not 100% sure, I've done my job because I can't really trick somebody 100% anymore, right? So what did I have it do is I had it go out and basically run a bit of research. By the way, I could do this for any of you that are looking for clients or looking to target. I'm going to spin up a free table for you. Just got to reach out, book some time. I'll walk you through this process. We will build you a custom table. I can give you, I think, 50, maybe 100 leads with emails, right? Actually, with emails, 50 because there's a cost associated with everything. So, I'm happy to give away, but I can give you 50 emails included, or I can give you 50 mobile phone numbers included, right? And then give that for free for Yes Montreal members and for people interested in signing up with Yes. But yeah, so I create this, visit the company website, ascertain the areas of specialization, the area of focus, their financial service advisory services, and we'll be using it to build a complementary first line to every female. So I only want to provide up to 3 points. You really like too much information is no good for AI. You want to keep it as simplified as possible so it can only focus on one or two things. Because if you give it too much, it's gonna give you too much back, right? Like, so I only pick three, right? So these guys do whatever, retirement planning, tax planning, blah blah. So that's great. Now, as you can see here, I didn't use OpenAI because I like the way that Anthropic works better when it writes out stuff, you know. Um, uh, So we're a Microsoft partner that focuses on building customized versions of Dynamics CRM. So I basically sat down with him to realize, what do you guys do? I don't have to do this. I can usually just plug in their website and they'll do it for me. But I personally prefer to sit down and work with them to say, what's the offer you want to go to for this campaign? Or for these people that you're targeting, what is the service or offering you want to target them for? You don't want to just generically blast out everything you do. We can be hyper targeted because that's my whole thing now for the last year is hyper targeting works, right? Um, so yeah, we built out a customized version of Dynamic CRM, blah, 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 blah. They specialize in automating their expertise, yada, yada. Using this knowledge, right? So that's the first part. And by the way, I plugged that into Anthropic to give me this prompt, right? So I said, this is what I wanted to do. Give me a prompt that I can use. And then I massaged that prompt, right? So using the knowledge we gathered from the website, this is the focus areas, right? We want to create a cold email to this person, and we're looking to book a quick. Now, keep your response. This is a lot. And normally I wouldn't ask the AI to do all this at once. I usually ask it to create the first intro line, and then I'll ask it to create something else, and then I'll marry and put these pieces together. But because I was doing this for a free sample table for this guy, I just had the AI do it because Anthropic does it pretty well. So what does that look like? Uh, let's see here. So, so basically, we want to make one of the things I'll tell you whenever you do this, and what I like about Clay and these softwares is customizing the subject line is very powerful. It's not just powerful for getting people to open their emails, right? If you do a customized, personalized subject line to that person you're targeting, even if your email gets wound up in the spam filter, right? At least when they look at it, that subject line will be clearly telling them what you're emailing them about. Even if it's the spam folder, and I open up stuff in the spam folder all the time because I know Google and Microsoft are really overzealous about shoving stuff into spam, right? So I check my spam and I see a lot of good emails that I didn't mean to, that shouldn't be in spam. So that's why, if you're worried, that's why I say customize a really good subject line, right? Mine are different. Like this one's very basic. She, my friends, anniversary. Why more? Blah blah blah. I'm reaching out. Modern tech. We're developing customers. It's a little long. We can shorten it, but this is really where you can go with customized email. How do we find the emails? Let me just show you that really quickly. Actually, I didn't even know I need to do it here. So how we find emails is there's all these different tools that we can use, right? So what I like about Clay is you're not stuck with one. This is find your work email. This is something called find email. So find email will basically go out and it'll use criteria like the first name, last name, and domain, and it'll run through its database. Now, what I like about Clay is if find email doesn't work, then you can go to another one. So it can stack or waterfall providers, right? So you can say, okay, I want to run against three providers. So this way you can almost 100% get the emails that you're looking for, right? And then once you're done with that, then you have all that with the email addresses and it's almost all ready to go. And then you can pump that right into Smartlead, which is basically Smartlead's an AI platform that I use. And this is how I kind of do my email campaign. The reason I like Smartlead is because it offers a few different things, right? So it offers warm up services. So warm up services, it'll keep the email accounts these are for customer accounts in mine as well. So it'll keep the emails that I have and addresses warmed up, meaning it'll send out emails every day to make sure that those email inboxes look like they're real, and they are real. But if you don't always have marketing campaigns, you can't always be sending out marketing emails, right? So Google still wants you to do something. So this sends out emails and make sure that they'll keeps them warmed up basically. And then what I do with that is I'll create like campaigns. I like to create smaller campaigns because I like to be very hyper targeted, and I find that my conversion rates are better because of it. And I also find that lately, all these people that put these YouTube videos and TikTok videos on lead generation stuff, they talk about finding one response in 300 outreaches, right? When I started doing outreach of any kind, the 3% conversion rate is what you shot for. Those people are shooting at what, 0.00 something? Like, it's not a great conversion rate, right? Like, you want a better conversion rate anyway. So, this is what I shoot for is one in, like, when I know a campaign's dialed in is if I send out 100 emails and I get a response. So I expect at least a response for every 100. And you're probably sitting there thinking, wow, 100 emails, one response. I'm like, yeah, that's how much it takes, and that's if you've done a lot of work to get there. Really, it took me 3 months of, like, I did a campaign back in May, and I was sending out emails to chambers of commerce across Canada, offering them free webinars on AI and lunch and learns, like I did for Yes Montreal. I had within 300 emails. Where is it? It's here somewhere. Within 300 emails, I got 6 meetings. Sorry, I booked six appointments and I booked 4 webinars. Right. So these are the chambers of commerce. 327 I sent out. This guy trying to pull 8 replies, 6 positive replies. So to me, that was an amazing campaign. But then a lot of people will take that and say, okay, those are the metrics and brag about those metrics. But I was giving away free AI webinars to chambers of commerce. I wasn't selling anything, right? So then I go, I got to challenge myself. So I took my product and I said, I got to do a cold email for my services. And that was a lot harder, right? That took me, I want to say, a good 2 to 3 months of fine tuning the message to the point where I was comfortable with it. And the messaging that I finally got to, I can show you here, was this one is basically it had to be really short. One of the things I learned is listen, you can't track open rates. So open rates is something that if you send out emails, people track it, right? You can track open rates, and I was doing that, but within I think the last month, Google set out a new policy that if you're tracking open rates, they'll assume it's spam and they'll put that into spam folder. So I had to stop tracking open rates. And then they did with clicks, right? You can't track the clicks. If you put a link in here, a live link, it's going to go right to spam. So I can't put any links in. So I put this Peter at banx.com, whatever, blah, 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 right? So, but the main thing is you got to keep it personalized to who you're going after. You want to talk about some successes you've had, right? And then here at the end, I offer to give them case studies, which I have case studies built up, right? So this email works really well. When I massage this into any campaign, I will get responses. I'm just about to launch a new campaign tomorrow. It's this one. Oh, I didn't even title it. But yeah, it's this campaign here. So like if you look at the see how everyone's different now. So would you be interested in leveraging your POC or co-op funds to build a custom lead generator for redefined, right? So I try and put in the name of the company in the subject line. I find that works really well. Yes, your links, clicks, and open rates are all getting your email sent to spam. So yeah, it is, man. I mean, I found out the hard way. Listen, I ran some campaigns and it's not going to send them all to spam. I'll tell you that right now. But if you look at this Dynamics Partners campaign that I ran, like it didn't have a terrible like I what I didn't realize is oh sorry is it didn't have a terrible open rate, but I didn't realize that a ton of them were winding in spam. Like I had a good response rate and I had a decent click rate, but the main challenge is getting all those people to see the email, right? Like the response is good now, but people if they don't see your email, no one's going to get it, no one's going to reply to it, right? So if it winds up in spam and no one reads it, who cares? But if I look at my Dynamics partners, right, I sent 88, they said 60 were open, 41, two replied. It's not great, but it's not bad. But, like I said, this all happened in the last month. So this is stuff that's been changed. Like it's constantly changing. And what I like about SmartLead is it does allow you to do that spin taxing that I told you about. So if you want to see how spin taxing works, I'll show you right here. So let's take this subject line, right? Can Let's see if it works. So I'll put this into a Word file here. You can see it. So it puts these kind of brackets here, and then it put this line here. So would you be interested in? Are you open to? Have you considered? Could whatever, right? So this is the spin tax. One bracket here, then the line here will give you your second line. Another line here will give you your third choice, fourth choice, right? So when you put this into the subject of an email platform like SmartLead, what happens is every email that it puts out, like every subsequent, it's going to just keep mixing and matching the spin tags. So it's going to give your like it's you got to look at the spin tags when ChatGPT creates it and make sure it's clean, make sure um, it makes sense, right? But like sometimes it'll use words that I try to stay away from or stuff that I don't want to use, so I'll just kind of remove that, right? You had your hand up, but I'm not sure if you asked your Alejandro. Did you get your question answered? I saw your hand was up. Sorry, I didn't know if your question was answered. But yeah, so this is kind of
Hello.
Yeah, I
hi.
think she did. Yeah.
Derek said we could interrupt you with questions, so here I am.
Yeah, did he?
So, what you said about the links, clicks, and open rates
Mhm.
getting the email sent to spam, that's for the cold emails, I assume. Because if you have already people subscribe,
If if
right?
they've
That's the
opted
question.
in, if they've opted
Yes.
in and they've replied to you, then that reply kind of opens you up to basically put in links or put in PDFs, or you can even send them stuff, right? So that's not going to typically get flagged. If you're sending them out messaging, and then like if you send out messaging, and even if it's a subscribe list, right? But people are annoyed because you're sending too many, and two or three or four or five or enough people put that into spam, then now all of your emails are going to start getting flagged as spam. So even people on a subscriber list, it's good to scrub that list and vet that list. If you have a list that's 2 years old, then you got to clean that list and get people to opt back in to make sure that they don't put that stuff back into spam. Like I'll sign up for a new software like SmartLead. I signed up for SmartLead. This guy spams me all the time. He's the owner, and I'm already subscribed to his tool, but he's still sending me emails like 3 times a week, and like I'm on the highest tier plan. What do you need to spam me for, right? I want to put that into spam, but I know but you know what I mean? Like that's you got to be careful, basically. So I wouldn't if it's cold email. Yeah, yeah, you're right. That's when you don't want to put the links in. That's why for my cold emails, I don't do any of that. As soon as they reply, then I'll be okay. Here's the link. Here's the PDF. Here's my calendar, or whatever. But the biggest challenge right now with cold email is getting them to reply. And that biggest challenge starts with are you actually in their inbox or are you not in their inbox? If you're not in their inbox, that's why they're not replying. Does this apply if I have
Okay.
DKIM? Yeah, DKIM and SPF and stuff is just needed. It's just basically almost like a baseline now, Matt, right? Like if I am sending out cold email, I'll look at MX Toolbox here. I think it's MX Toolbox, right? MX Tool. Sales, is it? All right, so DMARC publish, DMARC policy, DNS publish. This has to be green. If you put in your domain here, if anybody wants to give me their domain, I'll punch it in here. Alejandra, you have a domain you want to give me? Or anybody? Anybody? If you want to find out whether this is set up properly on your emails, now listen, when you get email, it's not automatically set up. This is basically if you have a policy.
Nobody wants to put in there. I'm curious to see how this plays out. Nobody wants to put in there.
Maybe everybody might have it set up, or maybe they're not worried
I,
about it.
I have my domain, but I don't have my email set
Oh,
up.
you don't need your domain. I just need your domain.
Okay, Infini ABA. I will write for you.
Oh, you wrote it for me? Did you write it for me or somebody? Oh, that's somebody else. Hold on.
It's in the chat now, Infinity IB, I think.
Yeah, I'll do this one. Looks good. Looks good. Infinity ABA. Is that all one word? Infini ABA?
Infini dash ABA.
Dash
Infini
ABA?
in French. Yeah.
.com or .ca or dot?
.com, sorry.
That's okay. All good. So your DKM, SPF, and this is policies that basically Google and Gmail and Microsoft look for. So they're kind of set up on your emails, and they say that you know what's doing. It basically makes sure that people aren't impersonating your email and sending email on your behalf, right? It's kind of a way that only you have to go into what they call your DNS and put this record in that says, yeah, I'm the owner of this email, so I can send out email on this behalf, right? That's how they know, kind of deal. So that's basically how that works. So yeah, the SPF and DKM is not exactly the same thing as keeping it out of your spam or filters. It's important. It took me a long time to get that set up because I had two different domains and it was just a pain finding the person to get that done for me. But yeah, so another thing I want to show you, Clay, really quickly is I can show you these scrapers. I don't know if you've ever seen Appify. Appify is amazing. So Appify is what they call just a whole bunch of scrapers, and these are the kind of scrapers that you see now. They're kind of popular these days, right? Like you can scrape almost anything. There's an Indeed scraper here that I use once in a while. The way that I use that is, right, you can put in your queries here. So if I go, where do I go? The actor, right? So I look up positions, keywords, right? So I put SaaS sales here, right? Canada, max items. And then when I run this, it's basically going to look for any companies with SaaS sales keywords in their job descriptions that have posted on Indeed that are looking to hire. Now you could do that for web designers, web developers if you sell websites, right? So if you know a company's looking to hire a web developer, you can offer your service and say, hey, I do custom web development. If you do anything else, like so, if you know that you're, offering services that if you know somebody's hiring, say you do service, they're hiring a service technician and you offer ad hoc IT services, right? You can do that with this Indeed scraper. But they have all kinds of scrapers here. They have the Google scraper. I use the Reddit light scraper, but the map extractor is really handy if you do retail, right? You can actually pick a location, give it some search parameters, and it's going to pull up all the businesses in that search area, right? And there is cost associated, so $12 per thousand results kind of thing, right? So there's always costs associated with, but you get free runs as well. If you go to the Appify store, you get a $5 credit every month. And the Indeed scraper only costs, it's super cheap. I use it and it's like, $2.25 it cost me for 1,000, right? So it's free. I haven't paid for it because I've been on the free usage. I was using this for another client. We're pulling up 1,000 records at a time. So we were paying for it, but this is a really powerful tool. When it exports it, then I import it into Clay. Company companies here. Yes, Montreal demo, customized research, and yes. So then I'll import it here, right? And then I'll start doing some kind of research on it. So first thing I'll do is I'll check, does the company do B2B sales, right? So I'll get my agent to search the company, search the job description is B2B. Then I'll look, is it suitable for, I do outbound business development services and I do lead generation platform. So I gave it like, this is what I do, right? Right. And then is the job description suitable for my services? And then it'll kind of list all the jobs that are suitable. I'll check if they have a domain. Then I'll get it to create, like I said, this is one of the answers. And let me see here. No, this is how I normally do my customization. I'll do create a quick little two lines, right? And I'll insert this into a template. So I notice your company's hiring for an inside sales account. So I want to reach out to help companies build blah, 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 blah. Allowing more time to. So what I asked it to do is take the job description and then customize this line, allowing them more time, right? This is based on the job posting, allowing more time to manage full cycle sales process for e-commerce. So it's customized. It looks like I read it and I replied to it, customized, and I'm replying to the actual. But between me, you, and everybody on this call, I don't. This is how you scale, right? Like if I took the time to read and fly it all and try to get every single one, I use the agents for this. I don't necessarily need the agents to create these responses and do all this stuff. I can do this manually, or I can do this all on my own, right? But I like to create the whole kind of letter because it gives me. I just take this and when I'm doing the outreach or when I am reach out to these companies, I'll copy like this part, right? And then I'll put that in, then I'll customize it, and so I'll use it when I'm doing my outreach kind of thing. So yeah, that's sorry, go ahead.
Can I ask you something? I see the table and I can see I am very easily to make an Excel
Yes, you
for
can.
me. Yes.
Yes.
My question is how put the email or put the message so they can send with the Excel sheet. So I don't need to buy this app.
This is the app is the only way that it
That's
does
the only
this.
way. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
So like eventually Excel will plug into different apps and stuff like that, I think, right? But Clay is what I always wanted. I wanted an Excel table that I could plug all this stuff into and that it could do stuff for me. So it's honestly it's a very it's expensive. It's $150 a month, but really the people that pay for it are marketing people like me. So like what I did is I launched this service, right? So I created this page. I hired two web designers from like Canada, one from Canada, one from India, to build me a landing page, and the pages were terrible. So I learned Framer, which is a tool to build landing pages, and I built this page myself. But the good thing is I created the content with AI, right? And I was able to create all this content on my own. And then now, like I offer for a starter plan, basically I offer $50 a month, and I basically build you a table of 100 leads a week. I give them, so I customize the message. I give you 100 leads, and I give you the email, and that's all for $50 a month, whatever. That's people. It's actually been pretty popular now. People are signing up for it, but it really doesn't do anything if you don't plug it into an email or into an automation tool for LinkedIn or something. You got to do something with it, right? So if I give you the table, I give you the email, I give you but you don't do anything with it, it's not going to help you. So you got to plug it into something else and do more with it, basically. So
Thank you.
That something else would be to dispatch those emails for you, right?
yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry, this email. I really don't want to sell you guys on anything here, but I added this because it takes a while to put the email campaign, but I would just plug this into my Smartlead, and what I would do is send out 100 a week. The main reason of that 100 a week is to find the offer and the hook that converts. Once you have that, then you can scale it, right? But there's no point scaling if you don't have an offer that works or a message that converts. You know what I mean? And that's what everyone runs to. They hire these companies to do email marketing and they blast out thousands of emails. Oh, I haven't gotten any response. Email marketing sucks. Okay. But did you honestly have you talked to an end user and asked them whether this is an offer that they would act on? And if it's not, you got to find that offer before you go to market with it, right? This is my little thing I put in here. But yeah, Clay is awesome. It's powerful. If anybody wants, like I said, I'm happy to build a free table for you. Give you up to 50 free. That's just part of it's part of a free promotion I was doing on email anyway. But I'm happy to book some time, sit down with you, build this out for you. Take it, plug it into, like, I'm going to give you a message that you can literally copy, paste it into LinkedIn. So all you have to do is click on, like, I'm going to give you a table. And when I give you the table, right, it'll have the LinkedIn, like everything will be here for you, right? So you just click on the link and it'll go right to this person's LinkedIn. And then you can message them right away, right? And then you can copy the message that I give you here, right? I'll give you a message and all you have to do is just copy and paste it. Look at all the research we did on this one, but that was a lot. Yeah, then you can just grab this. Hey, as VP of Sales Alerts, probably laser focus on driving revenue rather than testing out new lead gen tools. It's pitchy, but whatever grabs their hook or whatever works. But yeah, that's kind of how I would give it to you, and then you just copy and paste this, or just you'd customize it and then paste it into LinkedIn. Then reach out to them. LinkedIn is really powerful, by the way. Like if you're looking to find out what's your message, what they call message market fit, Facebook ads. Listen, for Facebook ads, the way that Facebook, I'm not huge on Facebook, but you can buy groups and you can buy demos and whatever, right? Like, so I'm not sure if you're buying individual, like this is gives you targets that gives you the LinkedIn and their email, so a direct line of contact. Whereas Facebook, I think it's more of a targeting a group or targeting like a demographic, if that makes sense. So what I would do with Facebook ads is I would create, you want to come up with an offer and a hook that works, but it's not like a direct outreach kind of approach. If that makes sense. Paid, listen, the reason why I started doing this too is because paid ads are expensive, right? This is like guerrilla marketing. This is if you want to talk to your ICPs and directly figure out whether you have a product that's worth even expanding on, then this is the way to do it. It puts you right in front of them and gets you talking to them right away. Once you know that you have something that resonates and hooks, then you can launch an ad campaign, and then you can do marketing and all that stuff, right? But you really want to talk to a few users. Like I always, when I started my first product, my app, I reached out to LinkedIn and I asked people for feedback. That's all I wanted. Can I get feedback? And it was powerful. It worked, but the feedback taught me what people wanted. Yeah, it's more potent when you're starting out. Once you get to a certain stage, you have to go to the bigger ads because you can't, manage all this, right? Like I've been doing multi-channel for a while now, and like I'm telling Derek, I'm so busy. Like I getting meetings, bookings, people are requesting to meet with me. But doing all those meetings and then still maintaining my outreach is really hard, right? Especially as I'm a sole proprietor, I'm a founder, right? I can only do so many things at once. LinkedIn reach outs. Look, LinkedIn reach outs. I started a campaign on Friday. I had a response that same day within like 10 outreaches. But it's really, I want to say, here's what the pattern is for LinkedIn. You start with a platform, you send out connection requests. Connection requests, if you have a good profile, you should be hitting a 25 to 30% connection ratio, meaning out of those 100 you send out, 25 to 30 should connect. Then you should go look at their posts, like a post, wait a week, then send, or you actually, no, right away you send a thank you, and then like a post, give it a week, then reach out with, hey, this is why I reached out. If you're ever looking, and just give them an honest, hey, I'd love to get your feedback. Just, have a conversation. That to me is my approach for LinkedIn. If you want to automate that, you can automate that with like a first message, second message, all that stuff as well. But LinkedIn, I find once you connect, you have a golden opportunity to pitch your user your product, right? They connect with you, they saw what you do, they still connected with you, they know what you do. You can say, hey, this is what I do. I'd love for you to take a look at something, or I'd love for you know what I mean? Like, I think that's a very powerful way to get in front of your actual users. Wow, already 8 o'clock. Anything?
Can I ask a question? When you were saying that you passed by your, like you've asked LinkedIn for feedback on your, like what did you go about asking your, like, is this a good pitch that I'm using? What do you guys think of this? Like,
Oh, no. Yeah, good question. No, what I did was I asked them, hey, I'm launching a new service, or I'm launching a new app, right? And
yeah.
this is what it does. I'd love to get your feedback on it. That's it.
Oh, okay, that's fine. No,
Yeah, it's really
my
straightforward.
service is different. Like okay, it's a yeah, okay.
Listen, it's yeah, it's tough. Like the lead magnet approach I've used, and I use it in my cold email, and the reason why is because it gets responses, right? And the responses, the way they work is, hold on, I'll try and find one for you here. But when the key to getting responses is to make it as frictionless as possible
Yes.
for the people that are replying, right? So how do you do
Yeah.
that?
No, you're right about your rate. I get about that. When you said 25, 30%. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. So
on
here,
LinkedIn. Yeah, on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn connection rate, yeah, but I mean a good campaign, right? It will give you. I want to say I got to look back at my connection, but I was getting like a 20% kind of conversion ratio to meetings or to people willing to speak to me.
Yeah.
So it's really powerful. So look, this is what I put in here, and this is what I asked. Just reply with a yes or interested. Boom, yes.
Okay.
Super easy, right?
Okay.
You got to make it really frictionless for these people to reply to. Because I always put myself in the shoes of the person that's kind of,
Yes.
like, that's what you really have to do. And this is what I really beat across my head is focus on the buyer's journey, right? Focus on what they're looking for, what their pain points are, what they want to help solve, right? How you can solve their problems. And that is how you want to do your outreach. And that's how you want to go to market. Last thing, if anybody wants a blog content, I have a little blog content creator. The way that I
Yes,
did,
please.
okay, so the way that I did that, I'll tell you how I did it first. I'm not sure if I can build it for you based on the way I did it, but I did it. So I plug in your website, just looking for my blog post creator, and then I'll plug in a website of I use LinkedIn, like LinkedIn has a blog and they put out articles. So this is one of those ethical dilemmas kind of things we were talking about. Hold on, let me see blog. It's weird. Sorry. Yes, I so many tables here. I gotta find it. But yeah, so what I will do is, if you have I look for something that will give me like an article that we can kind of use, and then I'll take your website and what you do, and then they'll kind of fill all these pieces in to give us kind of a post summarizer template. That's the one. Sorry about this. There we go. So the name of the company, oh yeah, sorry. This is the way that works is here. So I put in a LinkedIn here. I put in my URL, and what it does is it'll go summarize kind of what I do, and then it'll take the article, or it'll find a recent article from that link. So you can use Wired, you can use Hacker News, anything that's topical, anything that resonates with your kind of target audience. You can let me know, and that's how I would do it. I'm not sure if that's helpful, but that's because I don't need the content. It'll go out and create content from scratch this way. You know what I mean? So if you have I would need a website that you go to or your customers go to, and we'll plug that in if that makes sense. But that's the way that it would work. Is it goes out and it'll give me like the blog topic. It'll give me the blog post topic. It's kind of like a summary, and then I take this and I plug this into our custom content writer, copywriter, or blog copywriter, and that'll spit out the entire blog with the kind of meta tags and all that stuff. If you just want to give me a whole bunch of notes and plug that in, then we can do that too. We can just plug that into the blog copywriter with your notes and what you want to see, and then it'll create the blog post for you. I feel like I'm putting some of you to sleep, so I want to make sure we can keep this. Anybody have any other questions, or is there anything I can hit on that I haven't maybe touched on? What are the rules? I don't think I've seen anyone say that they wrote an article blog using AI. Is that coming already for us? No. Listen, people plagiarize stuff online all the time. It's up to Google. Google will look to see if you're copying content word per word, then it's going to penalize that repeated content. If the guy finds out, yeah, then he can ask you to take it down. I don't, like I said, I would never copy. Whenever we create these
No.
posts, we always link to the actual post, and we always tell people to check out the full post, and it's always kind of pitched as a summary kind of thing, right? Here's a great article we found. Here's our thoughts, or here's our take on this article. Really.
Yeah, you have to be very transparent and connect. Like what works on LinkedIn is a lot of personal stories. Like I remember when I wrote an article on insomnia, which I do have, that was like huge. Like, oh my God, so many people reached out, even privately. You have to, just something that your audience is interested in. You have to really be authentic. So it's funny, I haven't used AI yet in anything I've done on LinkedIn.
I wouldn't use AI to create content on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I
I
don't.
don't.
I don't.
Yeah, that's the surefire way to shoot yourself in the foot.
That's
And the weird thing with LinkedIn is, I've been putting content out there forever, and then one day I just say, oh, I'm gonna put this post out because I was frustrated with the amount of money I was spending on all these AI platforms.
Yeah.
And so I did an audit, and I was like, man, I had all this, and that was a post that went viral. And it was one of the first posts that went viral for me. And then the problem with that is then you chase the dragon on every post, which is
Yeah.
kind of frustrating, right? Because you're like, oh, every one of my posts sucks now because it didn't get viral and blah, blah.
Yeah.
But now, like, if I put out content and I think about what are the people that I'm looking at struggling with, and can I like I take what I've figured out, like I know when a post is going to do well because I'll put something together that offers real substantial value, but it takes me time. It takes me like a couple of days to put that post together of work, right? So whenever I see somebody spamming out like LinkedIn content every day about how busy they are with their outbound and marketing and email, I'm like, you're not busy because two weeks I've been slammed doing proposals. I didn't get a single post out on LinkedIn, right? So, I don't believe you. If you're putting posts out every other day and oh, I did this, and I closed that, I'm like, how do you have time to post on LinkedIn with these posts every day if you're that busy with clients? You don't, right? The problem with most of these marketing people, I'll tell you the truth, they have a lot of churn, right? When I sign a client, I sign a client for a year, 6 months to a year, right? So these guys just churn. So they're constantly looking for new clients.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You
sorry,
have
go ahead,
like
Matt.
yeah, I was just curious, like, kind of summarize like your pipeline. If you have like a nice like infographic of like all of the different services that you might be using to accomplish this goal, that would be like super
Yeah.
swell.
That'd be super swell for me too, because there's so
Or
many. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's probably going to be like I've done some posts like that before.
yeah.
Um,
Like you're saying,
like
like start with Clay, or maybe Clay is step 2, then move to
yeah,
Smartlead
I've
step
done so
3.
many of those that I'm almost
You
bored of
have,
them because yeah, and I can share some with you too. That's not a problem. But like my stack has changed quite a bit. Like I call, people like to
yeah,
talk
your
about their
stack
stack. Yeah,
exactly.
people talk that
Yeah.
marketing guys talk about their stack all the time.